I'm Christine Huynh, and I'm a veterinarian, and I currently work in the aquaculture industry. I'm the managing director of a consultancy company called Nautilus Collaboration, and we provide technical services to the aquaculture industry. So we provide things like commercial R&D services, compliance management, health, biosecurity, aquatic animal welfare services, to Australia, New Zealand, and also overseas. So I do work in the USA, Europe, and Southeast Asia. So my career path, I did first a Bachelor of Science. So I actually did my super nerd degree. Am I allowed to say that? My super nerd degree? Yeah. I had taken subjects in chemistry and mathematics. Then I moved across into veterinary science. And at the time, we had like an undergraduate course in vet science, and I studied at the University of Sydney. And had like an amazing cohort of veterinarians that graduated with us. And once I'd finished that, in my last year, we did some placements, and I chose specifically some aquaculture placements and absolutely loved it. But I had a very keen interest in fish when I was young anyway. So, when I was very young, like 7 or 8 years old, I got into breeding ornamental cichlids because they're just cool. And then my love for specifically marine life grew from there, because there was a curiosity around their behavior, how you could effectively breed them, and I didn't realize at the time, but you could get into fish culture, right? So that was pretty cool to realize. I then had a first job out of university as an associate veterinarian for a small consultancy firm, and then moved into the salmon industry after that. I'd worked in-house for one of the large salmon companies in Australia. Once I'd finished that stint in my career, I moved into a family office, which was an investment office, and took care of their aquaculture portfolio. And that was also very interesting, because then you got to understand financing and investment into the aquaculture industry, whether it's technology investment or investment into production companies. Once I finished that, I then opened up the consultancy business with my business partner, Belinda Yaxley, and we've been operating it now for 4 years. And I think that the biggest thing about the business is the people that we work with. So the amount of support that we've gotten from the aquaculture industry in Australia has been phenomenal. And I think that, we're very proud to be working in aquaculture in Australia. We've got some amazing scientists and farmers and really genuine people involved in the aquaculture industry, which we should foster. I guess it depends on the week. So sometimes I'll be traveling overseas. I will attend or visit farms overseas. So a couple of weeks ago, I was in Switzerland visiting a recirculation aquaculture system that was producing shrimp. Again, a little bit odd because we usually produce them in ponds, and providing technical advice around health management and biosecurity. Some other days, it's project management of research and development projects. And again, here's probably a good shout out to FIDC that actually does really great funding in this area and supports good quality research throughout aquaculture to help grow the industry. So we have a few FIDC projects specifically that we are involved with. And then some other days it's staff management and mentorship for the guys that work with me. I guess I would like to say that I still get involved in a lot of field work. So I do really enjoy going out and visiting clients and being out on farm. And that's kind of where I started, and what my real love is really being proactive and present in health and biosecurity management. The one thing I'll say is that biosecurity is really dependent on the culture of the company. So it's really up to management to set that culture to say, biosecurity is a priority. And then from there, you make a lot of business decisions. So usually what you have to do is you go through a high-level risk assessment for risk of diseases entering the farm, being transmitted on the farm, and then exiting the farm, right? And as you go through this risk assessment, you have to make choices on, what are priorities to invest in. And really that comes down to the people who are in leadership positions in the companies. But from like an on-ground staff perspective, it's also dependent on the little choices that you make during the day, right? So, we're really big proponents of empowering staff members and educating them so that they understand what the biosecurity risks are with every choice that they make. So if I'm transferring equipment from one area to the other, it's not as simple as just transferring. It's, what risk does this piece of equipment, impact on the other area to which I'm transferring. So it comes down to, I believe, culture. And for us, we try to support businesses to cultivate the right biosecurity culture internally. I'd say that you can get into aquatic animal health in a few ways. You don't necessarily have to be a veterinarian to get into aquatic animal health. That's the first thing that I'd say. So the second is it's about your curiosity and your tenacity for learning. I think that's the biggest thing. So it's about your attitude to the job. I think that a lot of the time when you graduate from university or, you finish your certificates, you have a base knowledge, yeah? And so your degree basically gives you base knowledge to start, and the ability to critically think and the ability to understand where to look for information. From there, it's about your attitude, and it's about how you approach your daily tasks, and about how much you want to learn and at what pace, because you decide that, because it's a self-learning environment, right? Like once you actually finish, you're not spoon-fed anymore, any of this information. So you've got to make a concerted effort to say, you know what, like this is the area that I really want to pursue, and this is the vigor in which I'm going to pursue it. And as a vet, I'd say, get into placements as early as possible so you can experience what it's like working in aquaculture. And then as an aquaculture or marine biology graduate, choose a good team to work in that supports your learning. So I think I'm going to break it down into specific categories. So with tech, you've got communication technology, right? So ways to communicate with one another and transfer data effectively. So let's say that you might be working on a farm, you might be using applications, for example, for input of data. That has a really great sustainability outcome where, you know, you're not reliant on paper, but on top of that, you get faster data transfer, which means that you can make decisions a lot more quickly. Like we use or have developed applications specifically for aquaculture clients, where they've said, you know, we need an application that caters for, you know, inventory control, or we need an application that caters for an R&D project so that people are able to keep abreast of what's happening. So there are so many options out there in terms of the apps that you can use. Sometimes you get into a situation where I think that there are too many application controls in particular projects. So you've just got to step back and select which one is the most appropriate one for the task given. Right tool for the task, right? So the next tech that I'll talk about is water treatment tech. So we have projects that deal with water treatment specifically. So the coagulation of microalgae, or the removal of totally ammonia and nitrogen, which has a upside in terms of the sustainability aspects of the project because of the lower total M output of farms. There is a little way to go, I think, with the development in water treatment tech, because we're basically taking water treatment technology that was developed for wastewater, and then we're looking at whether or not it can be applied or repurposed for aquaculture, which is a lot higher volumes and lower concentrations. So a little bit of nimble thinking is required for that. And then we also deal with diagnostic technology. So, you know, it's not specifically a piece of equipment, but it's a process by which you're able to get more accurate information to allow the end user to make better decisions. So another really great example is a commercialization project for ATPAs for the detection of smoltification in Atlantic salmon, which FRDC have also funded. And it is a project where we've taken a diagnostic tool, we've refined the diagnostic tool, we've implemented it and ironed out all of the kinks, you know, when it comes to logistics, which is like a big problem in Australia. It's a big country. And then we've managed to implement it for now a season to track smoltification at Cressy Hatchery. So there are all different types of technology that we can use that are able to improve the environment, so water, the planet, and also One Health outcomes for animals and humans. Try everything once. And then once you've tried, like, I'm not saying, you know, get a job on an oyster farm and a salmon farm and a blah, 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 blah. That's not what I'm saying. But once you actually get your first job, give everything a go, because you'll never know what actually intrigues you. So when you start honing in your skill sets for the area of expertise that you feel passionate about, your career will build around that. But the biggest thing is to find what you love. And the only way that you'll find that is to try different activities in your daily work, right? So you might start out as a hatchery technician for marine larvae, you know, try roticulture, temia culture, algal culture, rearing of fingerlings, all the way to health technician tasks, biosecurity, understand production planning better. But know that when you first start out in a company, you have to start from a very base level, because like I was saying earlier, like your knowledge is really what you get from university. So it's not going to accelerate like how quickly you ascend the ranks in a business. Actually, it's the willingness to do things and the attitude that you take to learning and getting in there and giving things a go. Because there's no task that you shouldn't be willing to do, unless of course it's unsafe, but you know, your workplace would not do that. So that would be my main recommendation, to find what you're passionate about.